Hey folks, welcome back to another review with yours truly, Sam Healey. Today we're taking a look at the Walking Dead No Sanctuary What Lies Ahead expansion. Now this, we're going to show you everything that comes in the box, pretty much in detail, so you can have a pretty good idea of what everything that's in there. And then I'll give you my final thoughts in just a few moments, but let's get down to the table and take a look at what you're going to get. So here's everything that you're going to get inside the box of the What Lies Ahead expansion for the Walking Dead No Sanctuary game from Cryptozoic. So it's going to come with 4 new scenarios that you can go through, and you're going to have 4 new characters: Maggie, Otis, Beth, and Herschel. Then you're also going to have a new rival sheet for the crew rivals, and then you're also going to have 4 new boards that are double-sided. We'll show you those in a little bit more. We got new event cards. We'll go through that as well. New kind of reference card for the firewalkers, which are these guys right here. Some more chips that are going to be talking about new fire tokens and that type of thing being hidden or visible, that type of stuff. You're also going to get the survivor decks for Beth, Otis, Herschel, and Maggie, as well as their miniatures too. So here are the 4 boards that come in the expansion box, and as I said before, they are double-sided. So as you can see here, there's one side, and then on the other side we have a cityscape of sorts, and of course we'll show you the scenarios in just a few moments, but I wanted to show these to you first. So you have 8 there, and then you have this one right here where it's kind of the highway with a little bit of the sidebar there, and then on the other side you have the farm, or the barn rather, at Herschel's farm. And then you have this looks like the infamous scene where Otis and Shane were trying to get some antibiotics for Carl, and then on the other side you have the church building. So that's pretty neat as well. Over here you have just a forest scene pretty much on one side, and then on the other side you have the house at Herschel's farm. So again, pretty cool details, and you know, I just like the top-down look of all of these boards. And here you have 4 new survivors that are joining the crew. You have Herschel, of course, the leader, and then you have Otis, Beth, and then Maggie. Of course, they're all going to come with their own survivor decks as well. These are survivor abilities, are very fitting to the characters of the show. First of all, you have Herschel here, where his special ability is once per activation, a survivor in your space may discard one of your survivor tokens to heal one. So he was the guy that was kind of medically inclined. And over here, Beth, her special ability is precious. Once during your activation, a survivor within range 1 may discard one of your survivor tokens to move into your space. So that's a pretty cool thing too. Maggie over here, her special ability says after a survivor moves into a space, he or she may discard one of your survivor tokens to choose a survivor in an adjacent space, move the chosen survivor into the active survivor's space. So that's an interesting thing as well. Again, there's a lot of trying to keep together in this expansion. Over here, Otis says once per turn, a survivor may discard one of your survivor tokens to perform an ammunition resource maneuver targeting an enemy in your line of sight. So that's cool as well. And of course, the miniatures are all pretty indicative of their actual characters, and they look pretty good as well. Otis's rifle here is a little bendy, but that's nothing a little hot water can't take care of. But there's that. Beth with her pistol, and Maggie with her machete or knife there. And you have Herschel with his shotgun or rifle. So again, these are all very thematic characters, and their decks are also very thematic as well. Then you also have 5 new event deck modules that you can add to your different scenarios. You have Band Together, Tense Parlay, Off the Trail, Open Flames, and Roamers. And so then you have the 2 bad guy groups that come in the box. You have the Firewalkers, which if you flip over the Firewalkers things, it gives you the effect. It says if a survivor moves into this figure space, he or she must exert 1. At the end of the ready walkers step, replace 1 walker in this figure's space with a fire walker. All right, so regular walkers are going to be turning into fire walkers if they walk into an area that has a fire walker in it, or an area that already has a fire token in it. So there is that as well. Then you have the crew rivals over here. When they're defeated, you reduce the threat level by 1. Depending on your approach, different things will happen. Here it says move 1 space toward the nearest survivor. Then 1 survivor within range 1 must exert 1 or raise the threat level by 1. In yellow, you have defeat 1 walker within range 1. Then a survivor in line of sight of this rival must discard 1 trust or raise the threat level by 1. And then in red down here, you have move 2 spaces toward the nearest survivor. Then each survivor in the rival's space must discard 1 trust or raise the threat level by 1. So these guys are pretty nasty characters as well. That's the crew, rivals, and the firewalkers. And then each of the new scenarios that come in here, you have trigger finger, bloodletting, beside the dying fire, and traffic jam. Beside the dying fire is the group needs to escape from the farm as both fire and walkers besiege their sanctuary. Here, the trigger finger, it says the survivor encounter the crew at a bar and need to escape as their skirmish draws walkers. Then over here, you have the story of with bloodletting. With Carl badly wounded at the Green Farm, Herschel desperately needs additional medical supplies to save him. Time is short, but fortunately Otis has an emergency medical training, knowing which supplies are needed and exactly where to find them. Unfortunately, the supplies are located at the nearby high school, which has been overrun by walkers. Sneaking in at night, the group hopes they can get in and out of the school without attracting too much attention. And then the traffic jam down here, it says, after the devastating destruction of the CDC, the survivors make their way down the highway looking for a safe place to take their refuge. Their trip is cut short by a massive car pileup on the road. Taking a short break from their drive, they search the cars for supplies, unaware of the massive horde of walkers that are headed their way. So again, these are all very iconic scenes and scenarios from the actual TV show. And then this expansion does bring in a few new rule sets. For example, fire is introduced and how it's going to interact on the board with the different survivors. Then there's spreading fire. You can activate the fire. You can also extinguish fire. So there's a number of different things that this is going to be doing, but it's also going to be turning some of those regular walkers into fire walkers, which are pretty nasty. Also brings in some stealth rules where your survivors can be hidden or visible, and there are some rules that govern what the walkers are going to do during their activation, depending upon how the survivors are either hidden or visible and where they're going to walk and that type of thing. So that's that for the What Lies Ahead expansion for the Walking Dead No Sanctuary game from Cryptozoic. So basically, if you like the base game, then you're going to like this expansion, because basically what it does is it adds, first of all, 4 new beloved characters. Then it also gives you 4 new scenarios that you can go through, and it's going to give you some differences in the event deck. It's going to give you different rivals to use. It's going to give you the new firewalkers. So it basically takes a lot of the stuff that you probably already enjoyed in the base set, and it's going to give you more of that, and it's going to throw you some new rules as well. So it's going to shake up how the game is played, just ever so slightly, depending upon, of course, the scenario that you're playing. And that's good. That's what expansions should do. It should give you something more to do with the game, not just the same old, same old. Now, when they're doing that, it depends, at least in my opinion, how much complexity they're adding to the game. And I think with this expansion, with how the fire interacts and how it changes different kinds of walkers into fire walkers, and it also is going to cause you more stress as you're trying to extinguish the fires, as you're walking into places that have fires. there's just a lot more danger that enters into the game, and I thought there was a fair amount of danger already as you were walking around these different scenario boards. So if you don't think you're going to have a problem with that extra level of danger complexity that's going to be added to the game, then this is probably going to be right down your alley. I wasn't so comfortable with it. I thought the game was difficult, well, not really difficult, but challenging enough as it was. Adding on everything else that comes in the game, in the expansion rather, kind of ratcheted it up a little bit, so that it was maybe a little bit too difficult or a little bit too convoluted. Maybe not difficult. Challenging is probably the right word, and it added another layer of, I don't want to say fiddliness because that's a little bit too harsh from what I'm thinking in my mind, but it just added a little bit too much of the stuff that I have to keep track of during the course of the game. So while that's fine for some people, it was a little bit weighty for me. So what I'm basically trying to say here, this isn't really kind of a full-on review. It's more of kind of a, let me show you everything that you get and then give you my thoughts on what you have there. First of all, I think the characters are all great. They're all some of my favorite characters. I mean, I didn't really get to know Otis very, very well. Won't tell you why if you haven't watched the show, but Beth was one of my favorite characters. Maggie, of course, is one of my favorite characters, and Herschel was by far one of my favorite characters in the show. So there is that as well. I like all of the characters, and I like how thematic the characters were added to it. I think that all of the character decks that come with this Survivors are all very thematic. You know, Herschel's, of course, is going to be focusing on getting people to heal up and that type of stuff. Otis's deck is all about ammunition and firepower and that type of thing. Beth is all about sticking close together. Maggie is kind of down that road as well, because this was early Maggie, not season 9 Maggie. The addition of the Firewalkers was a cool addition, but I wonder if the fire rules and how fire spreads and all of that kind of stuff maybe added. That's where that complexity and fiddliness kind of got added into it. Just another thing that I have to keep track of as we go through the board and as we go through the game. So this is a great expansion for the game. I think it's great. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10 because I didn't like the extra stuff that got added to it. I like the idea of it, but I didn't like how it played out in the game and how it kind of gave me more things to keep track of during the course of a game. So I did enjoy it, but not as much as the base game. So that is that 6 out of 10 for me for the What Lies Ahead expansion for No Sanctuary of the Walking Dead. And so that's it for me. Thanks for joining. I appreciate you taking your time out of your schedule to watch. We'll see you guys and gals on the flip side. Take care now.